Welcome back to the Positivity Hour. I'm your host, Darshaun Smith, and in today's episode 221, we are going to be talking about one question you need to ask yourself that will change your life today. Simply put, it's why, with a question mark at the end. Why do you want that car? Why do you want that girl? Why do you want that house? Why do you want that college degree? We're going to get into this in detail after the intro, but I just want to let you know this question is the difference between you being successful and you not getting your dreams, goals, and aspirations off the ground. So if you're interested in leveling up today, I suggest you keep watching. All right, welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Darshaun Smith. It's your boy, is what I was gonna say, the Positivity God. And it's a great day to have a great day. Today is March 22nd, and I gotta pay my credit card. I just remembered, so that's fun. But yeah, take care of your bills, take care of yourself. I hope you're doing all right, my friends. It's a great day to have a great day, and let's just keep it rolling. Let's get to that time capsule.
Time capsule.
For today's time capsule, I don't really have anything in particular to speak about, nothing too, air quotes, significant, end quote, has happened, in the world in this last week. But I just want to talk about a situation in which I personally found myself in yesterday, matter of fact. We're going to talk more about this in the Let's Get Personal section, but these two bracelets I have on my hand right here, I had a third one, and I ended up giving it away, but I kept these two in particular. And these two bracelets, the bottom one says be someone, okay, and the top one says prove them wrong. The significance of these bracelets doesn't necessarily come down to the statements themselves that are on the bracelets, but it comes down to what the simple like what the bracelet actually means. Like it's a simple object, yes, but for some reason, I'd taken these bracelets off about 6 months ago, I think, and lost them, okay? And when I was going through some of my things yesterday, I found them. And when I put them back on, it gave me like a confidence, a superpower, like a Shador's wrist up. But, just these two statements, they got me thinking, about like this last few months of my life and the lack of confidence I've had and so on and such. And I just wanted to put into the time capsule that, life is not always about the material things, but sometimes it is. And these little $20 bracelets, they were $10 each, which is highway robbery, but whatever. I was glad to pay for it, because it meant something to me at the time. And that's why material things can be good, because it's not necessarily that I, was willing to pay so much for a bracelet and so much as $10. It's not that lot in terms of what I could have paid, but it's the fact that I bought these for a reason. I lost them, and I lost a part of myself, literally. So I just want to throw into the time capsule that because of these material things, I'm back. I mean, I've been trying to get back, but this was like a capstone project. Like, I'm really back now. I got my 2 chains, got my 2 bracelets. We up. Now I just need to get my freaking smartwatch back. Well, I guess it goes on the left hand, but whatever. We'll get into that and Let's Get Personal. So that's all I got for the time capsule today. No world news or anything super crazy or positive. Just want to, give you that little personal story, and just make this podcast about me, to be honest with you. But now let's make it about you. Let's get to the main topic and talk about why you need to ask yourself why you do the things you do.
Time for the main topic.
All right, hopping straight into the main topic. Why do you need to ask yourself that question? Why? Well, I'm going to tell you why I even came up with this topic first, because I think that's important context. And I'm also going to tell you that this isn't going to be some long podcast. I want to get straight to the point and just give you the sauce. So why I even came up with all of this was because I needed to ask myself that question. I needed to understand what makes me click? What makes me turn this camera on? What makes me, want to make enough money to fix my house up? What makes me want to actually go find that wife? What makes me, want to be able to, live life again tomorrow if I'm lucky and not go kill myself, objectively speaking. Like, why? Like, what is my why? What is my purpose on this earth? What is my reason to do the things I do? That's the context. Now, why do you, my friend, need to ask yourself the question, why? Simply put, going through life is hard. If you want to achieve a lot in life, it's going to be hard. If you want to do the bare minimum, it's going to be hard because you're either going to be broke or you're going to work really hard to have a lot. And it's going to probably even suck even more if you're somewhere in between. So why you need to ask yourself that question in particular is going to give you the information you need to show up when it's hard. Because think about this. I had a person, I'm going to link their channel or video or something in the description below. Marcus Standen, I think is the name. He was talking about this concept where, like I was saying, life is going to be hard either way, but especially if you want to reach a goal or a milestone where you can, bench press 500 pounds for 10 reps, or like I was saying, find a wife or have the car or get the kids or whatever it may be. These are things that are going to inflict a lot of pain in your life, whether it's physically in your muscles or mentally in, as I was saying in the time capsule, where you may have a lack of confidence or, a self-doubt, or, it could ruin your image. I say all that to say that asking yourself why you would go out of your way to purposefully put yourself in harm's way, like I said, mentally, physically, or spiritually, is very important, because deep down, we are still the primitive creatures we were 100,000 years ago. We are trying to optimize for the least, resistance, the least amount of pain, the least amount of discomfort, because, primally speaking, we don't know where our next meal is coming, so we need to conserve calories. Primally speaking, we like dopamine, we like pleasure, we like to be rewarded, through sex or food or whatever it may be. And in this modern era with phones and, porn and all of these other things, you can get that experience for cheap. You can get what you used to have to work so hard for when you're, hunting in the pack with the group to go get that, group of gazelles over there. Now you can just watch someone on YouTube do something that you can't do and still get the same amount of dopamine hit and still get the same amount of, satisfaction like you did it yourself. That's why you need to ask yourself that question, why? Because if you can successfully answer that question, you will have the ammunition you need to actually show up when it matters most. I've always said for a long time, just going back to that point about like why social media creators do what they do. If you want to be successful on social media, simply just do what other people can't. Because a lot of people aren't willing to put themselves through that discomfort, and they're willing to pay you with their time, their energy, and their money, because that is a lot easier than, missing time with your family, or long nights and long days and little sleep and lots of caffeine. Shout out Bloom here, not a sponsor, but hey, I'll take all the sponsorships I can get. I take all the energy drinks out here, and Bloom is, this week's. I say all that to say that I think about like car YouTubers in particular, where a lot of people have aspirations where they want a nice car or like a nice house or whatever. And a lot of car YouTubers, funny enough, have very nice cars and very nice houses and garages to store said cars and their family and personal belongings and memorabilia and all of that. And they went through the process of asking themselves, why am I going to sacrifice having a family to reach that goal? Why am I going to sacrifice my sleep? I think about Shimmy 150 in particular. I was watching a video the other day. He said, I'm going on nearly a week straight, or rather a week straight of probably not more than 5 hours of sleep, when in reality, he needs closer to 9. But he's trying to work hard and reach his goals and make progress on his house and his car collection and his business to make more money to get it in. He's asked himself that question, and he has seen the success. He has a car collection in excess of 15 million US dollars. Okay. The house with 10 acres of land, all of it, the beautiful wife buying her dream cars. They're flying across the world. They're doing the thing. I'm not saying you need to do exactly what he's doing. I'm saying, well, I'm not saying you literally need to do what he's doing, as in the cars and the house and the wife. And I don't even know if he's going to have a kid because he's just so focused on, the business and all that. But I'm saying you need to do what he did to get there in the first place, which is ask yourself the big questions. Ask yourself why. Now that we have, the context, why you need to ask yourself the why, and an example with a particular subset of YouTubers that do house and car content, let's talk about like what this actually looks like in principle. I don't have the amount of steps because it's different for everyone, but this is how you successfully ask yourself the question, why you want to do what you want to do. So let's just take me for example. Let's talk, and I'm gonna be honest here, okay? I'm gonna keep it a Fortnite V-Buck with you here, okay? Call it vulnerable, but I'm just being honest with you, okay? Me getting in shape, okay? When I was younger, when I was like 15, 16 or whatever, especially when I was like a freshman in high school, so like 14, I was huge, okay? My arms were like as thick as like those 10-pound meat things you get at Walmart. It was kind of crazy to say the least. And I wore like 5 size bigger pants than like my dad, okay? And I was like, okay, this is kind of crazy as a 14-year-old. So I made it, when it came around to like my end of my sophomore or junior year, especially in my senior year of high school, I made it like a goal of mine that I was going to like lock in and get in shape. And I'm going to show you that like this is what my goal was at the time. And this is where that same goal is today, because the goal was to get in shape. And at the time I got into shape because my why was, it's embarrassing to me. It's ludicrous. It's embarrassing to my family that their kid, a little 14-year-old wears a larger size waistband in thigh size than his father. Okay. I think that was crazy. Okay. I think that was, something that I was like, I just can't stand for that. I'm letting the family name down. I feel, like I said, embarrassed. I feel ashamed. I feel all of these things. And I don't want people to associate that with people that come from my bloodline. So I went crazy where I worked out for literally 3 hours at the gym at a time for 6 days a week, sometimes 7. And I saw the results. I lost over 100 pounds. I actually got into shape and I got to like 50 pounds less than where I'm at right now. So I was definitely way above the 300s. I was in like the low 200s. I still had a little stomach. I still had like some man boobs, but I was like noticeably slim. Okay. If I have the time, I'll put a before and after picture because it was crazy. I say all that to say that once I had achieved 80% of that goal, I was closer to like having the 6-pack and fully achieving the mission. My why had changed because my why at the time was, I'm my father's kid and I wear bigger clothes than my father. And that's insane because I'm a foot shorter than my father. And yet I'm like a lot wider than my father. So the proportions just weren't averaging out because I literally looked like my dad, but now I'm taller. So it all worked out. I say all that to say that as I got closer to the goal, my motivation, my why changed. I wasn't working out anymore because I needed to be smaller than my father. Because like I said, the situation I just described, I had, funny enough, stopped working out because I felt like I had achieved the goal. But in reality, mind you, I'm like 17 or 18 at the time. So I'm not even thinking about I wasn't even thinking about what I'm saying to you now. I hadn't reached the goal. I had used up all the juice for that current why. And that's why you need to keep asking yourself that question. Because if I would have kept asking myself, why am I putting my body through this torture? Why am I working so hard? Why do I want this? Why do I feel ashamed? Why do I feel embarrassed? Why do I not want my family name to be disgraced? All of this and more. I would have kept going and I would have had the 6-pack. And when I went to college, I would have kept going to the gym. And it's funny because when I went to college, I tried to go to the gym, but I had no motivation. I didn't have a why. I didn't have a reason. I didn't have a purpose to, because I was in the band and, I was doing this and I walked all these steps. So I thought it would all work out. And then COVID hit and I gained 100 pounds back because when you don't move a lot and you have access to unlimited food and lack of self-control because you don't have any reason to have self-control, you gain all the weight back, which gets me to the second situation we're going to talk about here, which is like where I'm at right now in my life with my weight loss journey. The reason why I hit the gym now is to, one, have a third place, okay? But the reason I want to get in shape, like I said, just to keep it a Fortnite V-Buck with you, I just want to be able to have sex with your girl really, really good, okay? Like, I'm not even gonna lie, that's the reason. I just want a six-pack just so I can be like a porn star. That's it. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people are like, oh, I just want to be in shape. It's like, that's not good enough, bro. Because if you just wanted to be in shape, bro, you'd be in shape. But you don't. You want to be in shape because it'll get you the girl, okay? You want to be in shape because, it makes you feel good about yourself. Take Alex Hormozi, for example. He's a pretty active person, he's always been in shape, but the reason he's like super jacked now and looks insane is because, one, he likes the way it feels, but two, he uses it for his brand. He uses it for his business. Sorry, I really need to blow my nose right now. Alex Hormozi, literally, if I remember, I'll put up a screen. If anything, if I can find the clip where he said this, I'll literally link the video down below as well. It was like an interview or something. He's like, the reason I'm jacked has purpose. Like, it's torture. It's a lot of ups and downs, all of this and more. But the reason I'm so jacked is so when I walk into a meeting, people just understand I'm serious. People look at him and take him serious in business. That's not like, oh, I want to be in shape because I want to be in shape. That's one hell of a reason. And now he's a billionaire because of it. So ask yourself that why. I've asked myself that why question, and that's why I said what I said, bro. I just want cum gutters. I want the V shape, bro, like they were talking to Rick and Morty. Obviously, I don't want it hard enough because I'm not there yet, but obviously it got the ball rolling because I've been showing up to the gym 3 days a week, and when I'm at the gym, especially this last week, as we'll talk about in the Let's Get Personal section, I asked myself that question again, and I was like, no, like if I actually want to get there, I need to go harder. And when I thought I was going hard in the gym this last week, as I was just mentioning, I went harder. I realized that where I used to be like 6 years ago in the gym, I took some time off because I hurt my ankle and all that, but I'm almost already back there. So what would happen if I'm already operating at 90%? What would happen if I turn it up to 95? What would happen if I actually gave it my all? What would happen if I actually just tried so hard I actually collapsed? Okay? Because that's the difference between reaching the goal and falling short. That's the difference between me twisting my ankle and ripping all my tendons this next time and me being prepared, with my body and my joints and all of that to, respond in the situation the right way. That's the difference between me getting the girl in the cum gutters and, just being a lonely single man like a lot of dudes, for the rest of my life. And I say all that to say, like, that's why you need to ask yourself that question. Okay, that was a very long-winded way of saying that. Took me on a 10-minute tangent, but I'll give it to you here short. Okay, you need to ask yourself the question, why? Because if you don't, you're not going to be able to live the life you want to live. And you need to be selfish about it. You need to make it dirty. You need to make it embarrassing. You need to make it just vulnerable, okay? If you want that car, why do you want the car, okay? I want a Porsche 918 Spyder. Why do I want that, Darshaun? Because it is a great feat of engineering from the Germans. That's not enough. Why do you want the car, Darshaun? Okay, I want that car because it's a status symbol. It costs millions of dollars. I would have had to done something significant with my life to be able to even attempt to be in a conversation to afford a car like that. Why do you want the car, Darshaun? That's not good enough, okay? Well, if I'm keeping it a Fortnite V-Buck, I grew up in the hood, bro. That one car could buy the 30 houses on my street. So that just shows, like, you can go from poverty, nothing, the lights getting cut off, oh Lord, words are hard, cut off, there we go, to having a single car that could buy 30 middle-class homes in the hood, okay? Or middle-class homes in the hood is kind of crazy. But, you know, this is Iowa. There ain't no real hood around here, okay? We got our door kicked in, shootings and stuff like that. But that was like 15 years ago. The place is safe now. I say all that to say that maybe that's not even the reason. I talked about wanting the engineering. I talked about wanting to be able to even have enough money to afford such a luxury item like that. I talked about wanting the status symbol just to show I came from nothing and I made myself into something and tried to bring some people along with me. But the deep down reason for me personally why I want that car, because this is real. Like I said, I'm going to keep it a $4.5 V-buck with you. I just want to show off, bro. As a person who didn't have anything in life, you know, and a person who's seen people with stuff, I've had a superiority complex, you could say, where it's like these people are no smarter than me. They are no more intelligent than me. If anything, I'm just black and live in a terrible neighborhood. So why can't I have these same things? And when I have these same things, fuck them, okay? I'm gonna show it. I'm gonna put it in their face. I'm a Shador Sanders, put that AP in the air. They told me bust down my AP. Perfect time. Like, I'm gonna do all that, bro. I don't care, because that's why you need to ask yourself the why. Because if you just want the car, bro, you're just gonna be like, oh, it'd be cool, you know. No, I really want that car or whatever, you know. It would be life changing. Nah, bro, fuck that. I want the car to get the girl. I want the car to have it as a trophy. I want the car to, you know, rub it in people's face who didn't believe in me. I want the car to show up to the racists, the KKK, and be like, yeah, hang me now, okay? You know, I want it all. Okay, and that's just me keeping a $4.5 V-buck. So that's me talking about the gym. That's me talking about my cars. I could obviously keep going on and on and on about the women or the house or whatever else, you know, I want. But I think you get the point. Moral of the story, in short, to keep this train rolling, ask yourself the question, why do you want what you want? And keep asking yourself the question. It's okay to be selfish. It's okay to be a terrible human being when you're asking yourself this question, because it actually gets down to the root of it all. You're being honest, okay? You don't want the girl because you love her, bro. You want the girl because deep down you were tired of that one girl in 5th grade always rejecting you. So you want to show the world that you can bag the girl, and then you're still going to go cheat on her or whatever, because it was never about the girl. It was never about her. It was about what she represented, okay? Maybe I'm speaking from experience. Oh, told you I was going to be honest. That's a whole nother let's get personal section. We're going to talk about like 3 months from now. We got to let that one cool off. Woo. Yeah, that's all I got for the main topic. Now, let's actually get personal.
Let's get personal.
All right, for today's Let's Get Personal, I feel like I don't really need to go into much more detail, but I do want to, you know, just pick back up on the story of like why I bought these bracelets in the first time and like where my mind space was at the time. You know, these bracelets, as I mentioned, they say be someone, you know, and that's the bottom bracelet, and the top one is prove them wrong. Well, I had a third one. I have no clue what it says, but I gave it to my sister. I think she still has it. But yeah, lost track of that one. I lost track of these, and I found these yesterday when I was, funny enough, procrastinating, looking through some of my stuff, and I found these and I put them back on, and it literally felt like a superpower. Excuse me. It literally felt like when I put these on, I could walk into a meeting and just talk that talk, walk that walk. I put these on and I understood that, you know, I am someone. I am a person who knows something. I am an expert that can speak intelligently on these things, and I'm going to prove them fucking wrong because I know something. I can provide value to this world, you know what I'm saying? And the moral of this story that I'm telling you here is that, like, I don't care what you have to do to believe in yourself, but for me, believing in myself does require some material things, okay? And that's me being honest about why this matters to me. This matters to me because I wore these 2 bracelets and that third one I gave away every day for like 7 years. And through those 7 years, you know, I'm taking showers with them. I'm working out at the gym, so they're full of blood, sweat, and tears. I'm on the marching band field. I'm traveling the world, in the country. Like, these things, I've seen some things. There's a story to be told with this material object. And I didn't buy this to like fill a void. I bought this because at the time I didn't feel like a person who could be anything, you know? So I needed to prove them wrong. and I needed to be someone. I needed to accomplish something because I like all humans, I just want to be remembered, bro. And we're all going to be forgotten. That's just a fact, unless you are some of the most significant humans to have ever walked the face of the earth. We're talking about like a Julius Caesar. Homie died 2,500 years ago. We still talk about him. Some of the earliest emperors of, China, these are, leaders of the largest nation in the planet, 3,000 to 5,000 years ago. They still get talked about. The Yin dynasty, the Ming dynasty, all of these families and all of that. They've provided so much impact on the world that they still get talked about today, for good or bad. Okay, I say all that to say that, like, deep down, that's my true why. Okay, I just want to try to leave the world a better place than I found it. I want to give back with the resources I have while I'm here. And I'm not gonna lie, I want to do some degenerate ass things along the way. Okay, I'm not saying I need to do some cocaine or some fentanyl, but like, I'm just keeping it a Fortnite V-Buck. Okay, when we up, we're gonna enjoy it. Because why not, bro? Life is short. We're all gonna die. And this last week, bro, this is something I should have put in the time capsule, bro. Chuck Norris died, bro. Now, I'm not a super big Chuck Norris fan or anything, but I understood that he was a big part of pop culture, and especially me growing up and everything. Chuck Norris, was 81 years old and martial art, actor guy and all that. I don't know too much about him, but I do remember when I saw Chuck Norris die, I was like, damn, bro, we lost a real one. And it yet again reminded me that life is finite. You only got one chance. You may get lucky, like me with my ankle. You could injure it a few times and still be able to walk and all of that. But at some point, you may not get lucky. And that you're going to have to be like Deion Sanders. The next thing you know, you got 2 toes getting amputated. And they're about to talk about taking your whole leg off below the knee or something like that. You know what I'm saying? You could have a battle with cancer. You could have a family struggle that, makes someone go on a late night drive and then they drive off the side of a cliff. Okay? Like, just remember, life is short, guys. And I know this Let's Get Personal went from these bracelets to me talking about death, but it is like that. You know what I'm saying? Be someone and prove them wrong is a reason for me to work hard before I get to my death. Okay? Because I don't want to get to my deathbed and be like, damn, I wish I could have. Nah. Damn, I wish I would have. Nah. Like, damn, I wish I should have said, nah. I don't care if my deathbed is tomorrow. Okay? I know goddamn well I've done some exceptional things for me and the people around me, and I tried, and I can die peacefully with that. Obviously, I don't want to die. No, I don't think any human really wants to die deep down. But yeah, I just know, like, my goal is that when my time comes, bro, I just want to accept it, bro, and just be like, hey, man, we had a good run. I don't know what's after this, but we had a good run. I'll see you on the other side. And yeah, that's your Let's Get Personal. Let's get some wisdom from your OG.
Wisdom from your OG.
Today's wisdom from an OG comes from, like I said, Marcus. Okay. I'm not going to play the video or anything. I just want to talk about what actually transpired here. I'm on my other phone, and yeah, Marcus STADON, I think it's STADON, STADON, or maybe the T silent, I don't know. Real G's move with stylus like lasagna. You get the point. He talked about how to unfuck your dopamine receptors in your brain, pretty much. And what did he say? Yeah, this is a quote, how to unfuck your dopamine to get filthy rich. I watched some of this video earlier today as I was procrastinating making this podcast episode, funny enough. And I don't think I was procrastinating. I was just waiting till I had the words to say. And I think those are two different things, because this podcast is about my life's, experience. It's about my own personal stories, but it is about culture and me just thinking about how we think about things. And today's wisdom from an OG, with Marcus, has me thinking about dopamine and like me watching a lot of Netflix and YouTube. And as I was mentioning in the main topic, when we look at other people's lives on social medias, we are getting the same amount of dopamine hit from it. Like, we actually achieved it. Like, we got the girl. We went out and worked in the gym. We worked hard enough to buy that $1 million car, so on and such. And in that video in particular, he talks about the two types of dopamine, the tonal dopamine, and I forget the name of the other one. Let me see if I can find it real quick in this video. I'm gonna try to scroll through. And where is it? Oh, it was right there. Come on, Darshaun, lock in, brother. You're so close. You're so close. Was it even in this video? Oh my god. Oh, here we go. Tonal dopamine and phasic dopamine. Tonal dopamine is just like you existing, and this is why like dopamine detoxes don't work, because it's a neurochemical in your brain that you need to survive. You need to feel motivated to do things. You need to feel motivated to go find food or you're gonna die. You need to feel motivated to have sex with that person, otherwise your species is gonna cease to exist, so on and such. But in this modern era, with phones and social media and the technology we have at hand, it's become very hard to maintain a lower tonal dopamine level, because that's your dopamine level that just exists at all times of the day, whether you're doing a lot or doing nothing. That's the bare minimum, the lowest it can go. You low-key kind of want that to go as low as possible, meaning you need to lessen up the amount of stimulants you're giving your brain, whether it's the literal sugar or nicotine or tobacco or whatever you're putting into your body, to, like I said, interacting with your phone and pornography, and even having conversations with people or being in large crowds, being stimulated by conversation with the person, your friend even, because it's a cycle. You're gonna have your ups and you're gonna have your downs, but if you have it lower, when you actually do something, it's going to make the phasic dopamine, the spikes on the graph, meaning like if you're not always watching Netflix or always watching movies, it makes when you actually go do that more special. If you're not always interacting with the hottest women on the earth, it makes actually having a genuine interaction with someone mean something. You know what I'm saying? If you're not always scrolling social media, living other people's lives, living in the view of other people's highlight reel of their life, rather, it gives you the ability to actually work hard to achieve something like that for yourself. Whether that's reading a book that can help you learn that new skill so you can actually find a way to make it out and make more money, or just actually getting rid of some vices. Like some people drink, some people smoke. My thing, I definitely eat some sugar occasionally. Okay, I've gotten a lot better, but definitely keep it away from me, because I take that a little too serious, and I love sugar. But yeah, I wish sugar was expensive and I couldn't afford it. But they don't want you to do that, because they would go out of business. I say all that to say that today's wisdom from an OG is just ask yourself that question, like, what's going on with your dopamine? What's going on in your brain? Like, why do you do the things you do? Why do you procrastinate? When do you procrastinate? How do you procrastinate? These are all important questions that, Marcus talks about for sure, but I want you to ask yourself, because I've asked myself those questions. When I procrastinate, it's because it's not that what I'm doing is hard. I just would rather do something else. Why do I want to do something else? Because I guess it's just more entertaining. I don't have to work as hard because I get to see someone who's already done it. Why do you want to see someone who's already done it? Because I want the instant gratification. Why do you want the instant gratification? Because it makes me feel good about my terrible existence on this earth. That's your wisdom from an OG. Same thing as we talked about in the Let's Get Personal. Same thing we talked about in the goddamn main topic, okay? Ask yourself the big questions, my party people. Because if you do, you're gonna shoot for the stars and land on the freaking moon, okay? But if you don't, you're screwed. Your life is not gonna be anything of significance. You are going to be forgotten. You are probably gonna live paycheck to paycheck if you're lucky. You're gonna get screwed over by these politicians and these world leaders who are really trying to drag us into World War III. But if you ask yourself the question, why do these people do the things they do? What is their motive? What can I do to insulate myself from these people? What can I do right now? What are the steps? What tools exist in 2026 that didn't exist 10 years ago? I'm talking about AI. I'm talking about, free resources on YouTube. I'm talking about books. I'm talking about just having conversations with people and actually figuring out a way to make it out, figure out a way to be better, figure out a way to, elevate yourself and the people around you to something of significance, or you're screwed. Your bloodline's going to end. And I don't want that for you. I don't want that for myself. And that's why I'm going to keep going. And that's why I like videos like Marcus was talking about there, because he asks the big questions in life and he wants to help you do it as well. I'm not, this ain't no pyramid scheme or something. As he says in all his videos, I don't have anything to sell you. I just, have information that if you want to listen for 5 or 10 minutes, and sometimes he'll if you give me 179 seconds of your life, I could change it forever. So it's nice and digestible. I say all that to say that we're done with the wisdom from my OG. So moral of the story, just keep on keeping on. Let's get the bread. Let's make it happen. Next week's topic, okay? Still don't know what we're going to talk about, but I know for sure, it's probably going to be something about what I'm going to experience in this next week. If anything, I kind of want to talk about money, okay? Not how to make money or whatever. I want to talk about this is definitely what we're going to talk about right here, because this was really relevant to this last week of my life. How to successfully manage your money. Whether you make $5,000 a month or you're making $500,000 a month, okay? It's these same principles, and I say this as someone who's not made a lot, but I've made enough to know something, okay? I'm not an expert, but I've made enough to know something. And I've seen success. I'm able to pay all my bills and have extra to save and, put over here and do something like that. And if someone calls, I can maybe help them a little bit, all of this and more. And more importantly, I've spent a lot of time investing in myself. I bought this camera, for example, I'm filming on right now, this microphone I'm holding in my hand, this laptop behind me, this, 20 terabyte hard drive right here to store. And, you get the point. I'm not just out here blowing the money. I'm out here, trying to be productive with it. And I want to, bring you behind the curtain. So we're going to talk about money next week. I don't know the title or anything. I just came up with this right now, but that's what you can expect next week. So, yeah, can't wait to see you there. Let's get to it. And for the outro, thanks for watching this week's podcast. I'm your host, Darshaun Smith. It's been a real one, man. I'm the host, I'm the Positivity God, also on Instagram and all that. The Photography God, my personal photography or creative page is back as well. And man, just never stop, bro. Just keep showing up, okay? Life is hard. We have our ups and downs. And this last week in particular, I felt like I was a little crab in the barrel, but I was actually able to get out, okay? Because of these bracelets, because of my mindset, because of the situation I find myself in, where I actually have a chance, okay? I actually can see the light at the end of the tunnel. And because of that, it's scary, and I procrastinate because it's I know what work needs to be done to get there. And it's going to be hard, and I'm going to look stupid in the process and all of that, but you just got to put your pride to the side, bro. You just got to look like a dumbass, okay? Because, hey, you're going to look dumb now, but when you're dumb rich, who's dumb then? That's all I got. Love and appreciate you. Make sure you like, subscribe, unsubscribe, hate, comment, positive comment, follow, unfollow, share, or report me. I don't care what you do. Just, do your best. Have a great week, and I'll see you next week, okay? Fade to black, and deuces. Woo!
DSP. We capture moments.
G'd up zone. I'm about to get it in, kick your feet up home. Days turn to weeks when you're always on the grind all night. I got my re-up back. I'm about to get it in, I'll be right back.
Nate, high lows to those who don't know the name. And G'd up, yup, that's the only thing I claim.